there's nothing wrong with us, but sometimes we need a frequency of someone who is already on the other side, just to give us a sense of where is your wound, where you feel unhealed, where you still feel that you're scared to meet that parts of you which are suffering. I'm not enough, or imposter syndrome, or I'm not loved, I'm not lovable. So if there is someone who holds your hand or holds the presence while you're asking yourself those questions, oh, it's wonderful. So I did that work with someone, and now I'm guiding others through the discovery.
Hello, and welcome back to Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and our guest today is Ivana Care. She is a life and transformation coach. And most importantly, I found this fascinating. She has trauma-informed certifications. And what we're going to kind of talk about, she's going to share her story. And what our kind of topic today is going to be is how to leave, survive, and overcome adversities and grow beyond that, which I love. It's not just overcoming our adversities, but also going beyond and growing and healing. So, Ivana, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, Lisa, so lovely to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to chat to you and share something important with the audience.
Yeah, we've tried this a few times. We're talking about it before the recording. It's taken us a few times to finally get this recording going, but here we are. So why don't you share with us your story of kind of, what you've been through, and then what caused you to become a transformation and life coach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my background wasn't into healing therapeutic work. I didn't let myself to go in there. I kind of thought, where is my talent? Or I actually also had to transform my own and integrate my own story, not to feel ashamed. So that is part of the transformation as well, because a
Yes.
lot of the time we feel like the breakthrough we've been through is the sad part about us. It's the thing we shouldn't talk about out loud. So it
Right.
took a lot about coming out, being able to speak and heal that part, which, wanted to hide that part of me. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just want to say that at the beginning, that it wasn't my career from the start. But what opened my, awaken my consciousness to something is happening is actually unhealthy relationships. And obviously, I suffered in the toxic relationship, and one day it was just too much. So it started with the fog, and I was disoriented, disassociated, and my response or trauma response to that. So I'll say that trauma in a context a few times throughout our interview, because as you said, I'm certified in trauma work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the trauma in me which was covering or could not feel it in my body. It was
Mm-hmm.
hiding, and I just felt
Yes.
uncomfortable, but to the point where I was just disoriented, couldn't put a finger on it. I just was detached from the feelings, because that was my survival mechanism. That was my trauma strategy to be able to
Right.
cope. But one day it was just too much, and I just said, my work doesn't work. My life doesn't work. I feel like I'm missing compass. I'm feeling like I'm going deeper into discomfort, and I have to fix it. So the point for me was getting in touch with my body and start reaching out to people who understand the somatic work, soma meaning
Mm-hmm.
body, so embodiment work. And the trauma is part of it, because trauma is stored in our body. So I started healing and releasing those parts, which I didn't allow myself to feel. And through that work, I was able to fix my life, to be more happy, to make decisions more with ease, and let go of that relationship which no longer served me. And that was a transformation I went through my own healing.
Mm.
And while I was unpeeling the layers, I realized I can share the gift with others, because it's really hard for others to even put the words to it. I was just confused. I was
Right.
just in a fog. So I needed a help. I needed a guide. I needed someone who can kind of send me the message from the healed side and hold me accountable for the changes and for the healing. And now I like to do that for others. So the main mission is, I know how it feels to be healed, and
Mhm.
I can pull you out from where you feel like you're not integrated yet, because we're not broken. We're not,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with us. But sometimes we need a frequency of someone who is already on the other side, just to give us a sense of where is your wound, where you feel unhealed, where you still feel that you're scared to meet that parts of you which are
Mhm.
suffering. I'm not enough, or imposter syndrome, or I'm not loved, I'm not lovable. So if there is someone who holds your hand, or holds the presence while you're asking yourself those questions, oh, it's wonderful. So I did that work with someone, and now I'm guiding
Paying it
others
forward.
through the
Mhm.
discovery. Yeah, exactly. So that's the journey. Yeah. And you also mentioned the adversity. So it was a difficult time for me to let go of that relationship.
Yeah.
And it was just pulling me in to play that game. So there was an invitation of, like, let's just, how would I put this? Keep playing. So there was an invitation, like, I've got your car, I've got your possession,
Mm.
and like, I won't pay your rent, and all of those, like conflicts. And to let go of all these invitations to keep playing, to
Mhm.
keep being engaged with the control and the dance we had together, I had said, no, thank you. I said, this is enough. I'm not playing. I'm out. And it meant to stand on my own feet. And I wasn't
Mhm.
prepared or preparing for that in a long time. It was just all in sudden, it's just like, I can't. So yeah, I had to step into unknown. So it was my own decision. And it was the courage to say, like, I can do this, even though I have to leave everything behind. And I think it was that self-trust which brought forward also my intuition. And
Mhm.
in a short amount of time, I was actually able to find help for myself. I was very lucky to be placed in women's shelter or refuge, depends on how you call it. So that was a place where women with children can go and find a safe place for while they can stand on their own. So
Yeah.
I was really, really blessed. And the other help I relied on was my mother's group, my friends from the circles um, where we had same age children, and they donated some clothes for me and my
Oh.
daughter, and helped me, yeah, to put some things in the kitchen, because I had nothing, not even a spoon, no plates. And I remember the first day when I could sleep in pajamas, and I was just like, no
Oh.
more sleeping in jeans. So there's
Oh.
a yeah there's a humble beginnings, but there was something in me which knew that this is better, this is safe, this is actually a breakthrough to
Yes.
do something good for me and my family.
Yeah, because it sounds like it was a narcissistic relationship, and they're so controlling, and I can relate a little to that because I was in one, and when I was willing to walk away from everything I had, leave with
Mm.
just my clothes, and completely start over. I wanted away from that craziness so much. So I can completely identify with that, and it is absolutely liberating when you get out from under that. It's scary because you are stepping into the unknown, but if you look at it too, that it's a new experience and it's exciting, and what is it I can learn? And when you do get yourself out of that situation like you did, and you've done what you've done with your life, it's just amazing, and then you get to pay it forward to others.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not easy. So just to um, give a hope to everyone, like, I was in the relationship for 2 years, and I'm now 2 years outside, and I still feel, the aftermath. I'm still on my
Yes.
healing journey. So there are layers and layers, but I
Right.
also see a massive difference into how free I feel in my own mind, because the strange part of leaving that relationship, you still have that voice, you still have their
Mhm.
kind of thoughts, and you question everything you do. So you have to
Yeah.
shake that off. And it's I say it's a teamwork. So I did find team, I did find support, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's the message for others. So the big part is, yeah, step one is realization, and step two is find your support and find your tribe, because I don't think anyone can do it alone. It's very, very difficult.
No.
And once you do share your story, you also have that shame shaken
Mhm.
away from you, because if you run it and you don't share what's happening, or not the full extent, because your friends can't understand, or you feel like, well, no one gets him as I get him, so that keeps you really small. So once you open up, I remember I had this realization in the women's shelter. I was like, oh, everyone got the same guy as me. And I heard the
Yes.
stories and I was just like, he did tell you that too? Like, I can't believe it. This is a same way out. There's like a cookbook or like a recipe for disaster, and we
Yes.
all went through the same story. And then I had this colleague saying, like, okay, if there is a same way out, there is a same way out, and let's just find the way and help others. So, there is a recipe for healing. There is a recipe for empowerment and freedom, and I found that recipe, and yeah, that's what I do today, and I just love it.
That's beautiful. Hey, thank you for listening so far. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you won't ever miss an episode.
Very
Yeah,
fulfilling.
that's the thing. That's the thing with shame is once it's exposed too, it loses its power,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
all carry that. And I had Tim Fletcher on and I asked him one time, like, why do we carry that shame? It just doesn't seem to make sense, right? It should be the abuser that carries the shame. And he said something real profound. And I feel that it's true. I know it's true in my life. And that is, it's the beliefs that we have about ourselves.
Mhm.
That's what
Mhm.
causes the shame. And I stopped and I thought about it for a minute and I thought, you know what? He's right. Because in my life, I carried so much deep shame that nobody knew what was going on
Mhm.
because for some reason, everything was my fault. It was me. I was the problem. And so I
Mhm.
certainly didn't want that out there. But as
Mhm.
as I've walked through on my healing journey,
Mhm.
I don't have shame very much at all. And when it pops up, it does make me question, like, why is that popping up? What's going on?
Yeah.
Because I don't have the same beliefs I did about myself.
Mhm. I also heard very powerful and for me eye-opening, let's say, theory or opinion on why do you carry the shame, and mm, we're very empathetic people, and that's why we get in this situation, because
Yes.
we can empathize with their hurt part, with their wounds. We understand
Mhm.
why they did it, and we overstretch ourselves for empathizing with
Right.
their behavior. So the shame you walk away with is not your shame, but their shame. And you kind of, with the extended empathy, carry their shame for what they do, because all that shame is actually projected shame. I'm not lovable. I'm not good
Mhm.
enough. I'm not, because they're the insecure one. They're the
True.
one trying to mask and hide the insecurities by the game of power and control. So that is very, very empowering itself, because you realize, like, it's not my shame. I don't have to hold on to it. I can just drop it, and what stays is me. Like, I am
Right.
lovable, I am whole. It wasn't mine. So I love that, and it really helped me to shake some of those layers of the
Right.
shame. Yeah.
Right. I know the impasse, it is difficult. And we do have to
Mhm.
be careful because we do take on other people's
Mhm.
stuff. And
Mhm.
it can be really overwhelming. And, yeah. And so I have to be very, very careful of that myself. I totally get that. Yeah.
Mm.
And that makes some sense too, because it's
Mhm.
true. Narcissists are very insecure. They come across as very confident and sure of themselves, but they're not. They are, if we were inside their heads, we would be quite scared at what
Yeah.
they think of themselves and what they
Yeah.
believe about themselves. It's not a positive.
Mhm.
It's not the way they're putting themselves out there for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so I've got some questions for you. And I apologize. I didn't send them to you ahead of time. I should have.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're not big surprising ones. I'm sure you'll do just fine. But your personal transformation was a catalyst for your coaching journey, which you were just sharing. Can you share the moment you realized you had you had to leave that relationship, and what gave you the strength to step into the unknown? So you did touch on that, but can you maybe go a
Mhm.
little deeper?
So what was the last drop? Because
So the
sometimes
last
it's little and sometimes
it says, "Can you share the moment you
Yeah,
realized that you had to leave the relationship, and
yeah.
what gave you the strength to step into the unknown?"
Mhm. I realized I have a superpower since I became mum. So it
Oh.
was the strength which it was no longer about me. It was about my children, where I could not see the boundaries about myself and I could, just accommodate, compromise. I'm like, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. So I wasn't, let's say, objective in that situation, me versus you. But
Right.
once I was stepping away and it was about my children, I could have a little bit more perspective on what is fair and what is not fair. And I
Hmm.
have a daughter from previous relationship, and once he was starting to put rules over how often I can see my own daughter, I realized that this is too much and it is a control. It is trying to isolate me from others. So I went and looked through the education, yeah, the power of control, or sometimes they call it a purple book, the dynamics of the abuse. So there's a lot of information on internet which you can Google, and I'm just trying to put the things together: financial
Mhm.
control, the sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. Like there's types, and you can have a look which ones apply to you, and then you have a look, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not one thing. It's not, let's say, a compliment, which isn't really compliment. As an example, like, oh, you look great for a woman your age. So what is that
Yeah.
compliment telling us, right? Is it telling you look good, or you are old? So it's not
Mhm.
double-handed compliments, or let's other things, like it's all together. So there's a whole pie of what is going on. And once I realized, like, it's complex, it's not me being confused, it's me being in this situation where I'm trapped in, and when it's been played out for a long, long time. So, and without me noticing, without me being conscious of those little changes,
Mhm.
I realize it will be hard to get out because of the financial aspect, and we've been through it. And then started me uh, thinking, like, how do I do this? There's a study done that it takes 6 attempts for a
Mhm.
woman to escape such a situation. I was just thinking, I don't have 6 attempts, because once you try, that person will trap you even more, like tracking you, or like getting
Yeah.
inside your phone, or like there's extremes,
Gets
right?
worse.
Yeah, so I was thinking, now I have just one go. Like I have to,
Mhm.
take a yeah, take one once. So it was no longer about me, it was about my children. And where I found the courage was that I didn't do it for myself, I did it for them. I knew that what is on the other side is bigger than my fear of short discomfort. And that's turned the whole perspective on the short-term discomfort versus long-term gain for the freedom for me and my children.
You explained that so beautifully. I love how you dialed in though, and that, so much of this is self-awareness. And I talk about that so much on the podcast, that you got to have the self-awareness, and you explained it. And I love how you said, you didn't see the boundaries until you had your children. And then you
Mm-hmm.
got a different perspective because
Mm-hmm.
the mama bear came out in you, and you were
Yeah.
protective. I love that. And that's, and I know that there's a lot of moms out there that they may see that, but they aren't able to yet make that choice. Or
This is not advice for everyone, and sometimes
yeah,
saying it's safer. My circumstances were unique, so I'm
right.
not saying everyone should do the same. Yeah, thank you for
Correct.
pulling that out, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different level of what is safe and what isn't safe.
Right.
Some women are so brave for staying for the children.
Right.
They can have different aged children, and they can have different age or different level challenges in the relationship, right?
Correct.
Because maybe the abuse is towards her, but not towards children. So
Mhm.
they have to play a different role. So it's not a general advice. It was just my
Right.
circumstances.
Right.
But
It
yeah,
was your
thank you for
story.
pointing that out. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even realize I was doing that, but you're right. And yeah,
Mhm.
because we're not saying that this is the one all, and I wasn't thinking that that's what
Mhm.
you were doing. You were sharing your story, and you were
Mhm.
I just love how you
Yeah.
thought, you forward thought through everything you did. And that's the point
Mhm.
I'm trying to make, is how important that
Mm.
is, because it's so hard to, when you're, because you were in survival mode, right? You were
Mhm.
100% in survival mode. It's really hard to think clearly
Mhm.
and really think beyond the next minute when you're in survival mode.
Mhm.
And I just want to commend you, because you were able to do that. And that is what we need to do, is we've got to take that moment and think about
Mhm.
the whole picture and forward think like what you did. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And
100%. And the level of abuse is there for you to be stuck in that survival mode. So once you have a breathing space, like let's say there are some a relationship where once the women kind of stabilizes, like I don't know, say let's reallocate, or I'm without a job, or he stands with another threat. So once you kind of stabilize, there's another layer of challenge for you. So you're always occupied with something, not paying attention to the bigger picture. So it is hard.
right.
You have to
Hmm.
create that space for yourself first to have, yeah,
That's so
ability
true.
to step away from that role and from that survival dynamic. Or yeah, yeah, it is hard. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I didn't see it in 5 minutes. It did take a while.
Right, right, right. And that's the thing. And it is taking that pause. That pause is so important. I talk about that so much too. That pause is what helps you get clarity to be able to make the next decision.
Hmm.
That's all it does, because
Hmm.
especially when we're in survival mode, I think you can relate, we're reactionary, right? We're just trying to put out the next fire, putting out the next fire. We don't have the time. We don't
Hmm.
take the time to pause and
Hmm.
think, okay, is this next step the right one for this situation? Or is
Hmm.
there something else that I can see? And so you were able to do that. And so I always
Hmm.
want to encourage everybody to do that. It might be just for a few seconds that you can do that, but that's really important. That's what's going to help get you out of the situation and give you some clarity.
100%. And what also helps with the pause, with the ability to have clear mind, is the trauma healing, is the embodiment work. So what actually helped me enormously, that while I was in the relationship, I reached out to a therapist who did some
Good.
trauma work for me. And that's what kind of let the steam out and let
Right.
me to have that space for that clarity, for that,
Hmm.
okay, my body's not just running on the cortisol, but like I let out the steam and I had the stillness of not boiling water, and that's probably what helped me. So yeah, it's very important. And how would I explain it for someone who hasn't experienced it? So we're overwhelmed by the feelings, and when let's say the cortisol or the stress hormone of like, I don't have enough money, or I don't have time for my children, or I don't have a perfect career, I could, like, a lot of that,
A lot
how
comes at you.
the
Yeah.
question, yeah.
What if? What if?
So you are flooded with all of those uncertainties, and you have to embrace them. So the embodiment work is like, okay, so I don't know how, it's just, that's fine, and that's what's present now. So you kind of have to let all those worries and meet them, not just feel them in a background, or you just have to kind of answer that phone call. I was thinking like
Mhm.
those flooded emotions is just like your phone ringing, just like, I don't want to speak to you, I don't want to speak to you, but it's still ringing and it's annoying and you can't think because it's so loud. The transformation work is to answer that phone call. If you're scared to answer it yourself, what is the message, or what is the scary part, what is it trying to tell me, then you can do it with someone else. So if you're scared to do it on your own, reach out for a trauma informed practitioner and answer that phone call. Someone holds your hand and you just listen, and once you listen, you're like, okay, it wasn't that scary. And
Mhm.
that is what is the difference between feeling the feeling in your body, and once you hear the message, then comes the peace, like the water's not boiling
You
anymore. You
can
have a
breathe again.
calm surface. And then you can make the decision with the calm and clarity instead of that rush and steam and fogginess.
Overwhelm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
over, and you pointed something out, a couple things, but one of the things is you're talking about the support system that you have to have
Mhm.
around you, right? And the trauma therapist, because
Mhm.
I talk about that too, that there's a place for therapy, but what we have been through, we need trauma therapy. We need the specialized trauma therapy that has the modalities that will help us
Mhm.
work it out of our body, work it out of our subconscious, and heal from it. And and I know I think what happened when you went to see your therapist and you started to understand what was going on with you, knowledge is power, and that helps you to understand and separate you from the trauma and all the effects of the trauma, right? Because for me, my trauma and my childhood abuse for so many years was part of my identity. I had
Mhm.
to separate that from us, from me, and
Mhm.
understanding my trauma and understanding how it affects me and how it affects others has helped me substantially in my healing and being able to realize that I'm not I wasn't the problem. I wasn't the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. 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 And I had also a layer of grieving me, forgiving
Yeah.
me. And I was just like, how did I get myself into this? Like once I was, it's like, how, and I was so upset at me. Like, why did you do this? I can't trust you. And I had to have a chat with
Yeah.
me. So yeah, there's layers, and it's not easy, but like it's liberating once you have that chat with you, and once you find that connection, it's just like, okay, well, we had a fall, but we rise up, we learn. We're not starting from a scratch. We starting with knowledge and wisdom, and now we have tools, yeah, to do better.
I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions about this episode or really anything that has to do with trauma. So you can comment below or you can reach out to me at asklisatickle@gmail.com. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. I wanted to talk to you about what you just mentioned about not trusting yourself because there was
Hmm.
a period of time when I went through that and it was it was very unnerving for me because I had trusted myself and I knew I could trust myself. And then something happened where I felt like I couldn't trust myself at all, and it was the most unnerving feeling, and I was like that for, like, a couple years, and I finally got my trust back, and now I trust myself. I listen to my intuition. I listen to it because every time I don't, it gets me in trouble, and it's getting more intense. So, I trust
Yes,
myself now.
yes, I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And what was the healing moment for you? I'm curious.
I don't know what the turning point was. It was just one day I had been working on it and really kind of meditating on like what happened. I still don't have a clear answer as to why I lost the trust, what exactly happened there, but it happened when I started dating my narcissistic late husband. And I went completely against everything. Everything. I wasn't even supposed to talk to him, let alone date him, let alone marry him, and I did all the above. And it was after I married him and I was like, "Okay, I see it. I completely see it." And since then, I trust myself. I don't go against it at all
Mhm,
because it's been right every single time. Every single
mhm.
time. So I don't know what exactly, except maybe, you know, even though I should have trusted myself at that moment and I was listening and I was hearing what I was not supposed to be doing, I just went ahead and went screw it and did
Mm.
it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dumb.
I hear you. And looking back, I also have a similar experience. So knowing what I know now, like he wouldn't pass the first date because, and that's
Exactly.
why I started to believe myself. I was just like, if the whole situation happens to me again, I'm good. Like I won't let anyone in.
Right.
So I did have to go through the process as well and reconnect with my intuition.
Yes.
And if anyone listening has doubts about their intuition, I have quick maybe like advice or
Oh, good.
tip or something. even if you don't feel like you have intuition when it comes to relationships, maybe you have a glimpse of what your intuition is like, whether it's parking fine or whether it's, oh, I knew it, or whether it's
Yeah.
like, don't answer that call or something like it could be innocent advice where you kind of go like, oh yeah, I have that feeling. So go back and find those moments in your life and notice how your intuition speaks to you. Is it through ears, your eyes? Is it in your body? Just recollect what is the quality of your intuition and how it comes. So I went back and said like, oh, every time we sit on a couch, I had this thought run. I was just like, why am I running? Like this me self-sabotaging. And then I was like, what was the voice? What was the sound? What was the quality of that
Ooh.
intuition? And I was putting together, okay, so my intuition is quiet. Every time I try to reason, it
Yeah.
just stops. So, okay, if I'm trying to reason with ego, it has reasons back. But if I
Right.
try to reason with intuition, it just stops. So that's where I kind of went back in my memory and tried to define what my intuition is. So if I hear the same quality of voice or sound or experience, because everyone's different, someone's visual, someone feels a tap on the shoulder, it
Yeah.
could be different for everyone. So go back and, yeah, try to describe how your intuition speaks to you. And that gives you opportunity to, yeah, maybe next time you hear the same thing, be sure it's the intuition, not the ego.
I love that how you explain that. So if it's the ego, it's gonna argue back.
Yeah.
If it's your intuition, it's not, and it's true, and it's very quiet and subtle.
Mm.
I've even gone, I don't know if this is still considered intuition, but mine has gone as far as showing me the whole story of what's gonna happen, of what's coming up.
Excellent.
It's so freaky. And for years I would never say anything to somebody because what if I was wrong? Then they
Mhm.
would think that I'm crazy. Well, I tried it out one time. I tried it out about a year ago. And there was a situation that came up and it's like boop, boop, boop. The whole story came out in front of me. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. And I went to my husband and I said, I'm just going to put this out there, but I think this is what's going to happen. And within a couple weeks, to the T, it happened.
Mhm.
He was
Mm.
even standing back going, okay, I said, it's so weird. This happens. And the more that I dial into that, the more it's happening.
Yeah, so you're cultivating and trusting it, so it's showing up more. Mhm.
More,
Mhm.
more. And
Mhm.
but it's weird that it gives the whole story. I mean, to the T, it was crazy. It was crazy. I
Mhm.
mean, I won't get into the story, but
Mhm.
it was like, okay, I really need to listen. But I love the distinction that if it's ego, it's gonna argue back. If it's not ego, if it's your intuition, it's not gonna argue back. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's great. Well, let's get on with some more questions because I have some good ones. I mean, I was curious myself. So many survivors of childhood abuse struggle with self trust and identity, especially after major life changes like separation, like what you were talking
Mhm.
about. How do you guide women to reconnect with themselves and rebuild their confidence?
Mhm. So similar as you suggested with the intuition, we have to go back and put together the pieces of information. So how do you feel if you don't trust yourself? How are you
Mm,
feeling when you do trust yourself? And for me, the confidence is it's an active thing. You have to maintain it. And it's not something you're born with or have or don't have. It's a relationship. It's a set of activities you do for yourself and
right.
cultivate it. So if you realize, okay, I want to improve my confidence, well then there are tools, there are ways. And I found that confidence loves when you do something familiar. That's a step one. So that means rehearsing, that means visualizing, that means meditating. Meditating means getting familiar with yourself, with your thoughts, with your.
Mm-hmm.
So confidence loves that, familiar. So you can rehearse interview, you can rehearse how you want some conversations to go. Confidence also love when you have a little challenge, when you go outside of your boundary. So when you do
True.
something challenging. So you can bring yourself out of your comfort zone. And for example, for me, I was scared to go outside after all this happened. I was just
Yeah.
terrified. I saw danger everywhere.
Yeah.
So for me, adventure was going outside and,
Mhm.
walking in a new suburb and just noticing, like, am I still scared? Do I feel too far away from home? Do I want to hide from everyone? And am I able to make an eye contact? So I started very slow,
Mhm.
but constantly pushing the boundaries or going out of your comfort zone, it's a practice. So eventually I was comfortable with holding a workshop, having in-person workshop for women, or now holding a webinar, and so on and so forward. So at first I wasn't able to share confidently my story to my friend, and now I can in
Mhm.
a public space. So it is a practice, putting yourself out there. So and third thing, the confidence, like, is the inner work,
Mhm.
clearing the mind, improving the quality of the critical voice you have in your mind. And that again is a practice. You can have a therapist, you can do it by yourself, you can listen to a calming music, educating
Yeah.
podcast, and you can, yeah, you can find your tools which helps you to quiet the critical mind and open the positive, the kindness towards yourself. So it could be other practices, which could be in the embodiment work, could be acknowledging your feelings. So you build up the
Mhm.
relationship with you. Okay, if I feel stressed, this is how I feel. Now I know. Thank you, my body, for telling me. And
Yeah.
that's a kind, acknowledging, and validating voice, instead of like, ah, you crazy again. Like, I
Yeah.
hate when you feel like that. So that's a big difference, how you speak to yourself. So
True.
over time, you can also improve the critical voice inside of you,
Mhm.
which will stop sabotaging the confidence you naturally have. So the
Right.
path is not to change someone. The path is to bring them back home to who they
Oh.
already are.
Oh, I like that. That's beautiful. And it's just like when you started, taking those steps to going outside again,
Mhm.
and the more you did it, it built your confidence up, right? You were proud of
Exactly.
yourself. You're like, okay, I did it. And the next day you did a little more and it builds your confidence. And
Yep.
that's a really good way to build your confidence, is to just, when you take those steps, acknowledge what you just did and give yourself a good pat on the back. Sounds
Hmm.
silly, but we need that. And there's
Celebrate
not
a little wins. Yes.
yeah, not everybody's gonna celebrate with you, so you definitely have to celebrate for
Yeah.
yourself.
And that is rebuilding the trust in yourself, in like being able to recover, being able to do good, and being able to strive after breakup. So yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, thrive, yeah. Okay, so you use powerful tools like guided meditation, energy work, and trauma healing techniques, which you mentioned root cause therapy.
Yep.
Can you walk us through one of your favorite exercises that listeners can try at home?
I feel like I gave so many points already, but yeah, I do have one more.
Okay.
So it could be done in a real life, but it could be also done when you close your eyes and imagine that you are somewhere. But I'm time traveler, and I like traveling in time. So it happened to me that I got in a really challenging situation. I was at court,
Mm,
and it was a very uncomfortable day. And I was leaving the court, walking down the stairs. I was just in tears, and I thought my life ended. And I went back there, seeing myself from outside walking down the steps. So you can even go and visit that place, or you can just visit yourself in your mind, in like playing a beautiful quiet music, or just making that time for your and space in the evening. You can journal about it, and you can just visit yourself, walk with that person who is walking down the stairs, as I'm
mhm,
using the example, and you can meet them. You can just see them and say, I see you, this is a hard day, and I'm
mhm,
here with you. I'm coming from future, and you've got this. So you're sending the strength to that person in that moment and heal them. So it helps me because now I know that part is integrated. I know I wasn't alone. That was my future me with me who saw that, witnessed that, and you went through it and you didn't die. You were okay and you were so much stronger. And I gave that power, that
Mhm.
validation, that beautiful energy to myself in that moment to heal that moment, that difficult day in my life. And you can do it forward as well. So if I am in a stressful situation, I know today is a hard day. I know today is the interview, which, I don't know, for a TED Talk interview or something, for a
Ugh.
TED Talk speech or something, like you like, I need everything.
Yeah.
You can also bring the future you. It's like, honey, how did I
Mm.
do this? Please help me. I need you today. So you can call your
I
future
like that.
self. And say, I know I'm not alone. I know my healed me, my healed version of me is now by my side helping me. And then you can close the loop. So I don't know, once you get it or 2 years later, it's like, I saw you, you prepared well, and I was by your side. And you can close the loop that you actually did it from the future to your past. So I love time traveling
Yeah.
and giving myself a power for past, which was hard, and for the future. Yeah.
I like that because I
Mhm.
do that similar to the inner child in me, and it's
Mhm.
mostly the
Yeah.
teenage Lisa. The little Lisa,
Mm.
she's pretty calm now. She's had her voice and she's happy playing, but the teenage Lisa, so I go back and I help, I work with her. I love the idea of future thinking because I do something similar to that when and I shared a story when my husband had a medical scare and my mind automatically went to the worst, right? And I was spinning myself out. I was literally spinning myself out. And I knew I had to stop the craziness that was going on in my
Mm.
head. And that's exactly what I did is I stopped. At first I meditated to get myself in the right space. And then I sat there and thought, okay, what do I want this to look like? What do I want
Mhm.
it to look like? And I visualized, I went through every little detail of exactly what he was going to look like. Do you know what? This is what, 2 years later? And that vision has come true. Now, I'm not saying I did it. I'm not saying I did it, but I'm saying that helped me in the moment and it snapped me out of that spinning. And and as soon as I would start feeling scared again, I'd go back to that visual. And I'm not kidding you. That what I envisioned that day is happening. It's crazy, but it works. And it got me through that. Boy.
Well done, Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very heavy story you are sharing, and well done for being able to hold the space for your partner and not spinning down, as you said. You have to catch yourself. Yeah, and that's the moment. That's the awareness. That's the step
Yeah.
one. It's like, I know I'm doing this. Okay.
Yeah, and I know I can stop it. How can I do
Mm.
it? And I literally I have a app on my phone for meditating and you can pick different times. I literally did like a 20-minute one because I knew I really needed to get myself calm. And that really helped dial it way back. And when I got to a point where I just felt like I had no control over my mind. And so that brought control back. And then I'm like, okay, what do I want it to look like? I don't want it to look like that. I'm
Well
not going
done.
to think on that anymore.
Mhm.
So beautifully, beautifully said. I love that you said
Mm.
that. That's great, and it works. It works. Breaking free from a toxic past often brings up fear, guilt, or self-doubt. What advice do you have for women who feel stuck in the emotional cycle?
Yeah, I hear you. We kind of tapped on it as well. There was the self-doubt and all of those things, the shame. So we went through it.
Yeah,
Shame is one of the hardest, it's the lowest vibration emotion we can have, and it's very hard to break through that. But
yeah,
again, the awareness is key because we can go in that emotion for days without noticing. But once you go like, oh, this is what shame feels like, and I'm feeling shame. So for me, the first step was just describing it, how it feels in my body. I'm aware of it. And next time I have this feeling, it's like, oh, shame is here again. Hello. And I'm not trying to fight it anymore. I was just like, shame is here. Hello.
May I help you?
So, yeah. So that helped me because at the beginning I didn't even know how emotions are felt in the body. I
Yeah.
even didn't know how anger. I just disconnected the signs of feeling angry, and that's why I could navigate my life because
Mhm.
the anger wasn't felt in the body. I didn't know how it feels. So it took a lot for me to connect the emotions to body again. There are courses, education on that. There is a lot of information out there at the moment. So
Yeah.
that for me was a first step, and that's what helped me enormously. Even knowing I'm in shame. So the awareness is step one. And step two, sometimes it takes just allow it, just not to be annoyed by it. Like, oh, I don't want to feel
Or
you when you
fight it.
go away. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes
Mhm.
shame is call for love, so or for connection. That's why we feel disconnected. So just that realization of like, it's nothing broken with me. It's just my body asking for love. How can I give it to myself? And I don't have to chase someone else. I can access that feeling inside
Right.
me. Hmm.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. If someone's listening right now is feeling lost or unsure of their next step, what's one simple but powerful action they can take today to start their healing journey?
Hmm. So many. Yeah, the
I
awareness.
know,
If
right?
you are, yeah, if you are already aware, you already won. Because if we're in the autopilot, no one can help you. But if you already know, like, oh gosh, something needs to change, you already like 90% work done.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important thing. So if you feel like something has to change and I don't know what or how, that's okay. That's okay. Just
Mhm.
start noticing patterns. Look after yourself, not others. And for me, the thing was realizing I don't have to do it myself. Like there's
Yeah.
yeah, that people, places, everything's so available. Like their life is so easy with internet and podcasts. Imagine the past generations; they were isolated. We have it
Yeah.
this close. That's why I feel like there's waves and waves, and so many people awakening and healing because it's so available, the help and the
Yeah.
support which is there. So I encourage everyone to start looking for help for their tribe, and yeah, that's you don't have to do it alone.
No, and you shouldn't do it alone. It's not something that you should try to do alone. I did, so much of my journey there wasn't the stuff out there that there is now. So I had to do so much of it on my own. It was me and God. And it was slow. I mean, I know that's a reason why it was so slow, and it wasn't until like the last probably 15, 20 years that they've learned so much. Well, now we know so much more about trauma. We understand it, and there are great healing modalities out there to help us. And once I discovered that, my healing has really it's moved along quite quick, actually. And it's just the knowledge, the understanding the trauma was huge for me too. And in all my research I've done, they talk about that it's really important that you understand your trauma. And I think that you're right. If you could even go on the internet and try to understand the trauma, it's going to be enlightening for you. Because for me, what it did, the first thing it did for me is, especially when it starts talking about our behavior from our trauma, because that's where I carried a lot of shame, was from my behavior. And once I understood, oh, my behavior is from the trauma, it doesn't excuse it, right? It doesn't make it okay. But I was like, okay, it's not me being crazy. I just thought I was crazy, that there was something wrong with me. I never called myself broken, but I knew there was something wrong with me. But then understanding, okay, so that behavior comes from the trauma. So I don't have to do that anymore. It was very empowering for me, and really helped me to separate and get rid of so much of that shame.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
I'm glad you
beautiful.
mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I have one last question I ask all my guests.
Hmm.
What would you like to leave our listeners with?
There's nothing wrong with you. You're beautiful. No one
Yes.
deserves abuse. So there's also
Yeah.
a common misconception of people who did experience abuse that somehow they deserve it because they're
Yeah.
bad or broken or something's wrong with them. So you do not deserve to be abused. And the third one, everyone can be healed. So there's no one too broken or too hurt who can't be healed. So
So
yeah.
true. And thank you for sharing that. If the listeners want to reach out to you, how would they connect with you? It'll all be in the show notes, but why don't you share with us?
Yeah, so website, just click on it. You can download my 5 steps to bounce back after breakup or separation. Free guide
Nice.
I created just to help you to navigate which step or stage of the breakup you are and what are the best tools to get you to feel more whole and more happy in your life. So check it out.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. What is the name of the website?
We will link it,
Oh,
ivanacare.com.
okay. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom, and you had some great tips and tools that you gave to the listeners. So thank you so much.
And you as well, Lisa. Yeah, this was very deep and very encouraging for your listeners. I appreciate you. Thank you.